Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button for me. There's a PayPal link down in the details section for anybody that wants to share some love. Always appreciated. And the StreamYard link is there for anybody that wants to join the panel. We've got John with us tonight. Again, how you doing tonight, John?
My friend, how you doing?
I am well. It looks like you're enjoying some weather out there. We've got our shirtless man on the panel tonight, gentlemen.
Who needs clothes when it's 90?
And there you go. Yeah, we've actually gotten a cool down here. We're in the upper 60s and 70s here. So good for you though. I always like the warmer weather. So we're going to talk again to John tonight about that toxic masculinity that we've been getting on about, with all these insane people claiming they're just doing their job, and all these people professing they know the law or trying to assert their authority over somebody else because of their emotions and stuff. And it's getting out of hand. And so the first video I want to bring up is caught on camera, American College Pediatrician's statement on gender. So let's take a listen to this.
And we have serious concerns about the physical and mental health effects of the current protocols promoted for the care of children and adolescents in the United States who express discomfort with their biological sex. This declaration...
First of all, I've got to ask, how is it these children are expressing some kind of biological discomfort as it relates to their sex? And at what age? What are they being exposed to that would cause them discomfort, first and foremost? In that, who is exposing them to that? Is it their mom and dad? Is it this culture that's spreading through the schools, allowing them to bring in these transgenders in these clown outfits with makeup and everything? We may as well slap the same shit on a pig and teach them they can be a pig too, if you don't get my point.
Was authored by the American College of Pediatricians, but really it was developed from the expertise of hundreds of doctors, researchers, and other healthcare workers and leaders who for years have been sounding the alarm on the harmful protocols that continue to be promoted by the medical organizations in the United States. Despite recent revelations from the leaked W.P.A.T. files, and
notice it's limited to the medical organizations in the United States.
the recent release of the final report from the C.A.S.S. review, these medical organizations have not changed course. So we are calling on these medical organizations of the United States, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society, the Pediatric Endocrine Society, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry to follow the science and their European colleagues and immediately stop the promotion of social affirmation, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for children and adolescents who experience distress over their biological sex.
What do you think, John? Is that a good idea?
No.
You don't think it's a good idea to stop the hormone blockers and stuff that they're putting in these little adolescents?
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not listening.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about that transgender shit, where they're allowing these little children who are expressing their biological differences as to their sexuality. Where is that coming from first? How is it that they're learning to express that? Who is imposing so much sexuality in these little children that they're expressing discomfort at such a young, early age? How does that come about? That's the problem. We're a nation of perverts. We're a people of perverts around the world. I guarantee you, This is a calling out for the American medical associations to disassociate from the WHO, the World Health Organization, placating the same kind of shit. This is an international level issue. It's not just American or United States.
I mean, it's bad enough they inject the cows, right? The fuck
Absolutely.
They inject in humans.
Absolutely. And again, this goes to the Nuremberg trials, folks. The first of the 10 points handed down, the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely necessary. So they dupe you into believing that you have to have it, and you believe it.
Well, it's also what you said about what's disturbing them and what have they been subjected to is actually disturbance. It's all just that same thing. There's just a disturbance. I almost want to say there's like a disturbance in the force, and it's being projected upon even the young ones of being confused, dazed
Well,
and
yeah,
confused.
yeah. That's why I say how is it we're subjecting such young children to these ideologies that they become discomforted with them, exposed to grooming. Exactly. We have a lot of and it's not just males, but generally, as I've been speaking on a couple platforms, as the male's priority responsibility, we're supposed to be protecting. So then it goes to beg also these women that are having children by men that aren't taking care of their children, or bringing them around other men that then turn around and abuse them.
How did that word grooming get a negative connotation like that? Because I mean, if someone was like, raise your children up in the way they should go, in some way, is grooming just considered a bad thing? Or like even if you go out in public and you
It,
dress yourself properly and groom yourself is like to make a outward appearance of
it,
appropriation.
in this sense, it's a matter of grooming as a process to get them comfortable with the abuse, much like Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome you can see today in women standing up for men, protecting the very men that they abuse, because they know by experience that the other men around them have allowed that man to abuse them just as much as they have. So that if they stand up against that man, now that man will still stand down even against the woman. Men are not wanting to interfere with those private relationships out in these public venues when they see men abusing women. That's shameful. We should be standing up for it and say, hey, I don't care what the experience is. If she didn't hit you, you don't hit her. That's the man's ultimate responsibility, is protection. And if he's going to bring his woman out in public and she's going to act like that, and he feels the need to slap her or whatever, then he has a problem first and foremost because he brought his woman out into a venue that he couldn't then protect her in. Evidence is because he's abusing her. Set thine house in order. Let her know you're the boss, and you cannot protect her unless she allows you to be the boss. Same time, you can't overtake that power of dominion of being the boss and make her a slave. It's got to be a 50-50. You've got to understand the positions that you want to gain because you ain't there yet. Young gentlemen, the younger generations, you ain't king yet. That's a process. Ladies, you ain't queens yet. It's a process. You don't just fall into it. It's a process of a king and a queen working together towards the same goals. If this king doesn't have the same goals as this queen, they shouldn't try to work together. That's the foundation of what you want to build, is what you want to affect. So if you don't have the same intents of affecting the same things in the end, you shouldn't start it.
Exactly. That's why I question that word grooming, because it's just like if the male and female were at home in private, they would groom each other to be found acceptable to each other out in the public.
Correct. And here it's the same thing. It's a process, grooming certain people to think things are normal, so that when they take them out in public, they act a certain way. Otherwise, when they get home, they're going to get beat. That's not the way you protect your women.
In our declaration, we affirm that sex is a dimorphic, innate trait defined in relation to an organism's biological role in reproduction, male and female. This genetic signature is present in every nucleated somatic cell in the body and is not altered by drugs or surgical interventions. Consideration of these innate differences is critical to the practice of good medicine and to the development of sound policy for children and adults alike. Medical decision-making should be based upon an individual's biological sex. It should respect biological...
Not their feelers. Not their feelers. The actual facts. Just because you get emotional, gentlemen, and you feel like a woman and you want to cry, go ahead. But that doesn't mean you're a woman. And you should never placate it in any situation. This is the problem. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Yet here we are. We're accepting these things as lies. And not only accepting it, but we're accepting the insanity that he, she, or he, her, he, him, they, them, they pronouns apply, and you have to use the fuck I do.
I just thought of, oh, I was thinking, I just thought of, even if you tuck it, it doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah, you can't go out in public and profess that you're a woman by looks, by tucking it, and expect everybody to know that as fact, because it's impossible. You are not a woman. Just because you look like a woman and you can get people to believe you are a woman doesn't mean that now you can turn around and tell everybody they have to address you as a woman. That is false. I do not have to believe in your fuckery.
And the dignity of the person by compassionately addressing the whole person. We are here defying the claims made by these medical organizations in the US that those of us who are concerned are a minority and that their protocols are consensus. They are not consensus, and we are speaking in a loud, unified voice, enough.
Enough, folks. A very simple message. It's time to stand up and say, enough. Enough.
But you know what gives them more power than just the regular person on the street, even though the regular person on the street, because it's actually that way. When she was talking, like she could have put it in layman's terms of XX and XY. That's what actually dictates
Right.
the biological thing is XXXY. So in the medical field, it doesn't matter what you profess out of your mouth, what's in your genes or what's in your biological makeup is how they have to treat you. They have to treat you according to XX or XY. They can't treat you to what you say.
Well, perfect example is there's a video out there. I can't remember who it was, but the premise is you're an ER driver. You're driving one of the ambulances, and you respond to a call where a woman says she's pregnant and she's bleeding out. And you get there and you see this woman that's obviously a man. Do you continue further expecting to find a pool of blood saying that she's bleeding out? When do you stop believing? When do you stop believing that the story is real and that it's actually effectuating something positive, particularly in such a situation where you're using emergency services, claiming that you're a woman and you're bleeding out? That doesn't, you're not a woman, you're insane. You're using emergency services that could be better used and actually wasting the gas and all the time and attention spent to come to a false call. because that's truly what it is.
Only, but see, I want to differ only to the extent that that in itself would only matter on a claim of the type of blood. Now, whether it's a woman or a man bleeding out would have to be from where, but if this woman that was a man was professing she was AB negative, but according to any blood test, it would show that she was O positive or he was O positive, then in that case, I think it would be wasting resources in trying to fulfill whatever that person was actually saying, not really
Well,
whether they
yeah,
were
well,
bleeding
yeah,
out.
well, yeah, and in this scenario, he was trying to make the claim that he had a miscarriage and was bleeding out. He's a male. You can't have a miscarriage and you're bleeding out. So when you get up there and you don't see any blood and he's still saying he's bleeding out, do you then carry on? And if you do see blood, I'm sure you would carry on, but would you carry on in the belief that he had a miscarriage? Or would you be looking for something more like stab wounds or a prolapsed rectum because he was having too much gay sex with too big a sex toys? Bring it to reality and use that in logic. We're not doing that. That's the insanity. People are moving forward with their imaginations, and it's the false claim, thou shalt not bear false witness. And people are willing to this day still accept transgender and all these pronouns and everything as if though there's 136 different genders. There's not. So let's take a look at the next one, because when we're talking about we're done, it's it's time to stop. It goes to each individual and your knowledge. So again, sometimes the knowledge is basic. There's only two genders. Let's start there. Then let's move on to the other things that are a little bit bigger. And by the time you get to practice that kind of discernment in using logic, it affects your entire life. And I guarantee you, it will improve it. Why are we giving up our authority? Oops.
Of journalism. But then these cops showed up, proudly wearing desecrated blue line flags. Then they tried to push the young lady around. Little did they know, but they were about to get educated.
Look at that blue line flag, guys, on her uniform.
So, ma'am, can I have your ID, please?
No. Do you suspect me of committing a crime?
What's your name, ma'am?
Am I detained or am I free to go?
Well, you're on private property.
This is public property, ma'am. Can I have your supervisor, please? We're done talking, ma'am.
You're here to take pictures and video.
Right, which is my First Amendment right.
Seems like you're just going around looking for issues.
Ma'am, when...
Right there, okay. Oops, I haven't been sharing my screen. My apologies. We'll start this over. But right there, yeah, we're looking for our public servants that are violating people's rights, as you are right now, ma'am. We're doing our duty as people and carrying out the oversight of the government so as that it does not become despotic and we have to bear arms under the National Guard through the militia and seal off borders from insolent people like yourself coming in and playing as a standing army like you've got some kind of authority under an economic warfare. We got to put a stop to it, folks. And that's the knowledge. To defeat one's opponent without fighting is of supreme excellence. And they already tell you they don't know the law.
Lady was filmed for documenting purposes, exercising her First Amendment right to freedom of journalism. But then these cops showed up, proudly wearing desecrated blue line flags. Then they tried to push the young lady around. Little did they know, but they were about to get educated.
Look at that blue line flag, guys, on her uniform.
So, ma'am, can I have your ID, please?
No. Do you suspect me of committing a crime?
What's your name, ma'am?
Am I detained or am I free to go?
Well, you're on private property.
This is public property, ma'am. Can I have your supervisor, please? We're done talking, ma'am.
You're here to take pictures and video.
Right, which is my First Amendment right.
Seems like you're just going around looking for issues.
Ma'am, when
Yes.
you assume, you make an ass out of yourself. And right now, you're making an ass out of yourself.
Who gives you guys the right to wear that flag, that desecrated flag? You know how many of you guys I've caught speeding on my dash camera? I feel like you guys are the sovereign citizens, you know? The laws don't apply to you guys.
Absolutely. I agree. You're the one that doesn't recognize the federal government and think that your local municipal police authority as a corporate policy supersedes that. You forget where your delegated powers come from. Now here we're going to look at, it says Joe Rogan reacts to Cheadle's security lapses before Trump. So let's take a look at this. I don't remember it specifically.
And when you have that much money involved, it's going to stay dirty.
How many other security lapses have occurred with protectees under your watch?
I don't have a specific number, but there have been some lapses.
There have been other lapses. Was one of them Jake Sullivan?
Yes, sir.
What happened there?
There was an individual who was able to access Mr. Sullivan's residence.
His residence. A protectee, somebody was able to break into his house. Other incidents have occurred other than Jake Sullivan. Is there an issue with the Secret Service agent and Vice President Harris? Maybe when the president wakes up from his nap, he can fire
you. Maybe when the president wakes up. Real times, folks. Maybe when the people wake up. Maybe when the people wake up. Now, here's another one, and I hope everybody pays attention to this because this is one of those things that we see on these panels with certain people pushing certain agendas and whatnot. The repetition of argument. Again, I don't know what the deal is where my sound all of a sudden doesn't want to come through.
Like this. The practice of slavery was legal. We need to remember that governments did not own slaves. Slave owners did. In fact, the U.S. government fought a war to end slavery. How much should the descendants of the 400,000 Union soldiers who lost their lives fighting to free the slaves pay to the descendants of the slaves they freed? It's bizarre to suggest that human beings should inherit the outrage of the deeds of their parents. Should the child born from a rapist be branded a rapist because of his father's criminality? Should the child of a mass murderer be sent to prison because of his father's crime? No. In America, in the main, it was the Democrats who owned slaves, and the Democrats who in the main passed and enforced Jim Crow laws. It was also the Democrats who founded the Ku Klux Klan. Should the current Democratic Party be held responsible for this? No. We do not inherit the sins of our fathers.
Make sure you... Of course not. Of course you don't. But when you purvey the exact same activities and actions, guilty of the same. It's you painting that picture with your brush, claiming other people being racist while being racist yourself, or using identity politics and racism to favor votes. Kamala, who isn't black. And this is idiocy. Race is not a topic, but they use it as a topic for that very divisional element to sway votes.
So I have a question for you. I mean, on this topic of that, so I want to go back and try to recapture something you were saying about when the sins of the father are passed on to their children. Is that from when you say that happens? Is that from the enumeration at birth, or whatever when you're claiming that the sins of the father get passed on to the children?
Absolute, because it shows that something's still in probate and somebody didn't step up and profess a will.
Yeah,
So in that case, oh, sorry, John, go ahead.
but they get us to own a slave anyway, called the cap's name.
Well, yeah, that's because that's when somebody was supposed to profess a will. They say, no, I have my estate still. It's still, you know, I'm living, and I'll make those decisions. I'll raise him up in the ways of the Lord, and when he reaches age of majority and goes out onto the world, he can determine whether he wants to bond himself in servitude in contracts through a corporate entity, or if he wants to enforce his right of private contract with another private man according to his will. That's free will.
So what is it that what she's talking about then? Because in some way that's free will also, right?
Yeah, the free will to go into bonded servitude with another man.
Right. But she's saying that the sins of the father shouldn't be put upon the children, but they're actually taking that same spot. So they're doing it to themselves?
Correct. In that kind of a situation, yes. Think about this. If you're going into that bonded servitude in this system of loans and borrowing and credit and debt and everything, there's this thing called interest. And you can never pay it back if you're borrowing from the same person you originally borrowed from, which is the monopoly of the federal currency. It's a reserve currency. And that's the basis of it all. You're borrowing $1, and instead of paying back $1, you got to pay back $1 with an interest. And no matter what that interest is, in order to cover that interest, you've got to be able to pay back in the same kind, dollar for dollar. So if I get the $1 from him and I use that $1, I got to get $1 from somewhere to pay him back plus interest. So now I got to borrow another $1 plus interest to pay him back the first one and borrow to keep going. Now I can spend that $1 with someone else, but I still got to go back to him or somebody else that's got enough that I can now trade with them to pay. It's still that same $1.
So then what she's talking about is then would more likely be, even though in the past now they would consider it a thought crime. Is that it? Where she's going, we don't hold the old Democratic Party or the new Democratic Party to what the old Democratic Party did, because that would not actually be like slavery in itself. It's like, it's really weird to differentiate to the sins of the father being passed down when the whole system is actually ruled by that. If you don't do what you said, make that estate or continue that will of the majority, or when you get to majority.
Yeah, when you recognize that system is set up, and it's not just the Democrats, it's the Republicans too. They're both fighting the same war, and it's two arms of the same fucking bird. And you want that bird to keep flying. It just doesn't make sense to me. So let's take a look at the next one. Defiant Trump explains why attempted assassination, let's see here, hasn't changed him.
When I got hit, everybody thought I was going to be a nice guy. And they thought I changed. Remember, just before the Republican convention. And nobody thought I'd be there. You know, it's not great to be there when your ear is slightly throbbing. Let's go to the convention, darling, to the First Lady. Let's go. But I got there. Next day I left, right? And it was the greatest convention. And it was like a convention like no other. It was a convention that we were all so proud of. But they all said, Trump is going to be a nice man now. He came close to death. And I really agreed with that for about 8 hours or so. And then I realized they were trying to put me in prison for doing absolutely nothing wrong.
Absolutely agree with him. How about you, John? No reason to be nice to anybody anymore if they keep wanting to throw you in prison while you're trying to do something good for the nation. Now, again, I'm not into politics and I'm not rooting for Trump, but I will say again, as it goes to like war and economy and stuff, he did do a lot for the nation in regards to that with the postal service and certain reforms as to the economy and help raise things, and it was more prosperous and there were no wars. So it's a matter of standing up. There comes a point where you just gotta say no more.
Yeah, I like Trump. Did you see the one where he said, "I'm not a Christian"?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I did.
Interesting, right?
Yep. Very interesting. But again, that's what the world is about. You don't have to be religious, but you can certainly pose an aspect in your language, some way, somehow, that you're there for the benefit of everybody. And again, like I said, two main points is, again, there was no war during his term, and his main proponent in all accusations about war is that he wants to stop the killing. He doesn't care about any kind of economic sanctions or anything like that. He's worried about the killing itself. And I think that's a good perspective. So again, kudos, but I'm not voting politically for anybody, never have. I'm not rooting for Trump. I don't. I just try my best to point out the things that I see. Positive and negative.
Right. I see that in that aspect of that is that it's all theater. It's almost like the same thing of that concept of the sins of the father transferred to the children. In that same aspect is that whether they say that they did away with slavery, but in some way they just expanded the plantation. They never did away with slavery. They just
Right.
expanded it to include everybody, so that whatever he did was never to actually free the people. It was just to give people good feelings about the position they were in.
Yeah, it blanketed everybody into the slavery so that you ended up accepting the slavery without accepting it as slavery. It's just employment and equality and stuff, and you didn't realize what was happening. You've got much greater potential of doing your own thing and using your own imagination and diversities of the necessity as a mother of invention, and making sure that you're providing everything that's necessary at minimum, and then working from there. Everybody's starting out, like I said earlier, like they're falling in love, like they got that job and it's going to be the job for them for the rest of their life, and something goes wrong and they have no backup plan or any ability to think and be diverse and create new solutions for that problem that they never expected. Welcome, JG. How you doing tonight?
Good, man.
Good. Now, the next one I got goes to the corruption, and I like this guy too. He brings up some pretty good clips, so we're going to check out this one. Representative perfectly lifts veil of corruption.
House floor of the South Carolina legislature. Really chilly. This clip is going viral for a reason.
I get that the people in Columbia, that the lobby wants me to either not vote or to vote green on this, but my constituents want me to vote red, and they want their tax money spent on core government functions, on their roads, on their schools. That's what they want their money spent on.
South Carolina's track record on.
So this is like the Electoral College, same situation, where if the other side of the fence doesn't want the population to vote a certain way, but they do, through the Electoral College, that vote will be changed. Your vote does not count. It is already preset as to who they want in that presidency. And again, if you think they're going to put Kamala in there when she belongs to the streets and has no viable record of having any political accreditation with any foundation, she was out there sucking dick to get where she got. It's a popularity contest, identity politics, and she's not black.
Bringing major projects into this state has a winning record. So what your suggestion is we should listen to the people back home in your district rather than the people at Commerce that have been successful at bringing these mega deals to South Carolina.
I 100% am going to listen to the people back home who I represent in this house. You should listen to your constituents like I am.
And see, that's what people think is happening, is that these people are paying attention and listening to their constituents. Again, look how he states it as it happens. He knows on that side, everybody insists that he vote a certain way. And if he votes for the people, he's going to have a hard time in his position amongst those people that now know he will vote against them.
Well, that's his job.
Well, yeah,
right?
That's the part that we're failing in putting these people into office. Again, if you think your vote counts through this voting system, that's what the diversity, equity, and inclusion is all about. It's been around for a long time. That voting system is a false patriarch. If you're going to put real men into a real government, then you have to understand what the real government is versus this corporate government and people being hired, whether they qualify or not, because it's a commercial system of supply and demand. And as long as you keep demanding that they supply it, they'll keep supplying, and they're going to include people because you want them to do that too. You're the one demanding all of this stuff. The government wouldn't be this big if people wouldn't be demanding this economic benefit. It's not an economic benefit. That dollar for dollar, you got to pay back with an interest. You got to borrow that interest back from him too. Now you got to pay interest on that loan. When's it going to stop? When are you going to learn how to create of your own and have that standard as value? He called Trump a beta male. Jesse Lee Peterson.
I'm angry at her. Is it like a lesbian?
Are you saying that I become a woman
When you're angry, you have,
when
yes.
when I'm angry?
Yes.
Well, you're saying that men don't get angry at all?
Not real men. Beta males. Are you a beta male?
I don't know. What is a beta male?
An
You have
angry
to define
person,
it for me.
a male with anger.
So do you think Trump is a beta male then? Because he gets angry
No,
a lot.
he's 100% alpha. He never
Well, he
gets
gets angry all
No,
the
he
time.
doesn't.
How could you?
And I have to point out, I have to disagree with Jesse on this point here, particularly in today's world. There are most certainly reasons for men to get angry. Certainly another man trying to assert authority over him, that's for damn sure. And so when it comes to that element, even a woman trying to assert authority over another man. So think again.
He's trying to gatekeep there.
Yeah, just naturally, the position, in my opinion, is that men don't let other people have authority over them. So again, think about your voting for a female president, regardless of the issue of whether she's black, Hindu, Indian, or whatnot.
You
He
say
does
that?
not. You've never seen the president
Oh
angry.
my God, I've seen him angry so
No,
many
you
times.
haven't.
He's angry like half the time when he's
No.
tweeting out crazy stuff. What do you
No.
think that is? You think that's even tempered?
He's dealing with evil. The best way to deal with evil people by not being angry. You know how you notice you became like your mother?
I don't think I became like my mother.
Yeah, you are. Your mother had anger. Now
But
you
don't
have
know-
it.
Do you know my mom?
And I'll again agree
Yeah,
with him on that point, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to get angry. It would just mean that I'm better able to recognize it and maybe mechanize it towards a better effect.
Exactly. It doesn't allow you to get into your feelers, like you say, that a lot of people get into their feelers. If you're able to control that anger, depending on what is happening, it allows your consciousness in some way to flourish where it saves you from being trapped in your feelers.
Yep. That's the best reason for men to learn how to use their logic is it keeps them out of their feelers because that logic becomes paramount to help protect yourself because it's your feelers that actually cause harm to you and not having control is your problem.
And this guy's just pushing fake logic. Like he's literally pushing fake logic like it's logic. And we're
Yep.
just looking at him like you're your own problem, man.
Yep.
Mother?
I know that's where you got the anger from.
I mean, I don't think you know that at all.
Yes, I do.
think you have a very
100%,
narrow framework for all of this.
100%, and you become angry.
And again, I don't know if I agree with that last part because inherently I think men are supposed to get angry, particularly when women and other men try to assert authority.
Do you think there's a difference between getting angry and providing protection?
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand what you mean.
Do you think that you can provide protection, I mean, without getting angry of going, there's a reason to get angry or what this happens is I'm just asking, do you think that you can provide protection without getting angry or do you need anger to actually feel like you have the right or the ability to provide protection?
Oh no, you have to be able to assert your authority without anger as well, and that's the priority. Again, defeat one's opponent without fighting is of supreme excellence. But if you have to, you got to know how to fight. You got to learn how to, like I said, mechanize the anger in assertion to let them know you're not going to back down. Not that you're going to be violent, but that hey, this is a tough issue, and I understand where you're coming from. But you got to learn how to stop interrupting me while you're in your emotions. You're not allowing logic to work here so you can listen and understand. My primary job in my life is to protect you. Why would you stand there and try to argue with me rather than sit back and listen and hear me out? First thing you get emotional, you want to stop me and interrupt me. And like I've said many times, even City Hall gives you 3 minutes. Generally, I can explain things very simply in 3 minutes. Most people could if they learned how to practice riding that bike. They don't. It's much easier, much funner, much more dramatic, causes a greater popularity sense when you get all dramatic about things. So in that sense, it's right. He's right. Men shouldn't get angry. But again, it's inherently a possessive trait when other people try to assert authority over you. It's not time to be a cuck. So let's look at the next one. This is where they're asserting authority before they even have it. And again, it goes to the process in logic.
That guy was a herb.
Warrantless cop seizes guy's car for a warrant from the future.
Literally impounded a guy's car for a warrant he was going to write tomorrow. This is an illegal search and seizure violation of the 4th Amendment, a violation of the 14th Amendment and lawful due process, and an outright misconduct and abuse of power. You can't make this stuff up. Watch this.
And he admitted it on video. This is plain and obvious. Who the hell is insane enough to believe that these kind of people have this kind of authority? Damn right you should get angry.
This.
Why are you impounding my car?
We're writing a search warrant.
You're writing a search warrant right now. Right now, there's a search warrant.
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. So can I take my car now?
No.
Why?
Because it's getting impounded.
For what reason?
For the warrant tomorrow.
For a warrant tomorrow. You know how illegal that sounds? How he's looking at.
And this is why you should keep your women and children at home. You already know they will do it to you. It's a standing army.
at you. I'm going to get my stuff out of here, though, if you're going to impound my car. You're going to physically hurt me if I get my stuff? Okay, well, then I'm going to get stuff out of my car. So you're physically going to hurt me.
You keep saying this stuff, not me.
So what are you going to do to me if I go and get into my car?
You will be arrested for obstruction.
The obstruction from what?
Justice.
For what?
We are impounding your car for a warrant that will be served on your car tomorrow morning.
For
Retarded.
For a
And
warrant
it's on
that,
film.
yeah, for a warrant that will be served on your car tomorrow morning. And get this, they already pulled him over and did a search with the dog. The dog didn't hit. And now that the dog didn't hit, now this is what they're doing. See, they're asserting authority because they're butthurt because they couldn't get the guy on anything. They can't get into his glove box. They need a search warrant. They can't get into his car. They need a search warrant.
It's literally like now it's toxic masculinity. Now it's just fucking, crackpot shit.
Absolutely.
But I mean, do you think that person right there was trained to do that? It's like in that ability of you calling, let's just say men are cucks or whatever, but that this man has decided within his mind that he's righteous in just him not even being self-aware of what he's saying is to be lawful or unlawful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I say he looks like a kind of young man. And I don't know if the man knows the Constitution, but I know in the outfit that he's wearing that he took an oath to the Constitution. And again, like I said many times, if you've taken an oath to the Constitution and don't know it, then how the fuck do you think you can support it? And this is evidence of that very fact. He doesn't know the Constitution, or he does know, and he's fully willing and capable of violating it despite that fact. This is insane, folks.
For what?
The odor of marijuana.
The odor of marijuana.
And to get in your glove box.
And you searched you searched my car and didn't find nothing.
No, we couldn't get in your
The
glove
dog
box.
didn't hit nothing.
Oh, so they did search his car, but couldn't get into his glove box. So now, and then brought the dog, and couldn't get nothing. And now they still want to go to the locked glove box. This is their insanity. They have no evidence whatsoever, and they're claiming an odor of marijuana, yet even the dog didn't hit. They didn't find anything elsewise. This is pathetic.
Yeah, it's rookie shit. These rookies fuck people up.
Yep.
I know. You'd think the dog knows.
Yep, absolutely. Here's now Charlie Kirk. And this one says best roast ever, ? So let's check this one. I thought it was pretty fucking good. Look at the look on his face, though. And he's got that look on his face right there. It's just devious. Like he gotcha moment. Watch.
Charlie Kirk's best roast of all time.
The most agreed upon academic theory is Intro to Critical Race Theory, 1991 by Derek Bell.
Yeah. Wait, but
are you familiar with that literature?
Well, yeah, I've read the book, but I don't remember anything about it.
I've read the book. This is the foundation, guys. I read the book, but I don't remember anything about it.
It was for like a college class. Like, let's be honest, nobody remembers the books they read in college.
Sounds like a great value proposition to go to college.
No, it is. Trust me. But like,
No, it is. Trust me. You spent that time and you paid to spend that time to read a book that you now no longer remember. Then tell me how the fuck you learned anything with that money you spent and the time you spent to read the assigned literature to teach you something. Insanity, folks.
but you didn't go to college, so I guess you wouldn't know.
Uh-oh. Wrong thing to say.
It's true, I didn't. So let me ask you, though, does that mean that I'm not able to have this conversation with you? Because I actually remember the book and you didn't. And you.
Oops. I actually remember the book and you didn't, and you paid for yours.
Paid for it.
There's that look. Gotcha. What do you think, John?
Love that look.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like Charlie Kirk.
First of all,
Again, I don't always agree with him. I don't always agree with anybody.
I didn't pay for it. There's these things called scholarship.
Oh, so somebody else paid for you not to remember the book.
Gotcha again. See this flagrant generation coming up thinking that they're supposed to be silver spoon fed and don't have to put anything back. They can spend the money to go to college, read all they want, and somehow when they get done, they have this educational degree, even though they don't remember anything, and now they can go out and work. Wonderful. Wonderful. Great, powerful nation full of people with an American, or a great nation full of American people with an average reading comprehension of 7th to 8th grade, even though they go to college. See how that
Kid's
works
got a
out, folks?
bullshit ego. Not even a strong ego. It's just a bullshit, weak little ego. He thinks it's strong.
Yeah, this is beta cucking.
Is that what that is? Because like he was saying, that even though he didn't remember it, and it's like that to go through that to, let's say, get the job, but then to go back and claim how good college was. I mean, in his mind is he's going to defend how good college was because even himself don't remember the books that they read.
No,
So
but he
what is that
remembers all.
diploma?
Well,
What
yeah,
is that?
he remembers all the parties and all the connections and socializing. See, that's what it's about. It's that social popularity contest. Has nothing to do with knowledge. And again, if you don't know how this economic system works, how is it that you're getting elected into these public offices where that's the biggest complaint of the people is the economic scale and poverty and this and that, and how this isn't provided when it should be. We're such a great nation. We've got this great economic system. Then how is it it's not working? And yet you depend upon it. This is like I said, if you don't know what banking's about, then I don't suggest you hand your banking responsibilities over somebody else until you learn it. But that's exactly what we've got. We've got people that don't know the first thing about the economy and handing all of their finances over to everybody else that are running that economy on that interest scale. And they don't understand that they're losing out on that interest, and it's better to invest in yourself rather than use that monetary system.
Oh, some wealthy donor or taxpayer paid for you to not remember the book.
Could this be child?
Absolutely. And they worked their ass off to pay that interest and those taxes so you could do it.
How did that guy even end up with the grant? I mean, that's
Exactly.
what's like amazing too.
Exactly. That's why I say it's a popularity contest. It has nothing to do with the economics and your finances. They need people to fill a popularity contest, and they're called influencers. So let's check this one out. Sheriff goes to a man's house, cop with a bench warrant. A bench warrant. Okay, pay attention.
Man's house violating the Fourth Amendment. The cop had his arrest warrant. What do you think about it?
Let me ask you this. Is there a warrant for my arrest with the New York State Troopers?
Yes.
There is?
Yes.
There's a warrant for my arrest?
Yes.
You're telling me that now?
I am telling you that right now.
Can I see it?
Yep.
Are you here to arrest me? On that warrant?
I can.
Let me see.
This is my original, so I'm not going to hand it over, but...
Bench warrant?
Oh, yeah, bench warrant. Your original... Oh, so your original is not attached with the affirmation, the witness statement, and a certificate verifying a witness to it. So what is this piece of paper here? See, that's failure of the due process. People have the right to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects. Fourth Amendment.
Where's the rest of it?
This is the whole warrant. This is it.
No, can't be. Got to have that. Got to have the complaint, or otherwise called affidavit, the statement witness, and then a witness to the statement witness.
So it's a bench warrant.
Well, where's the original warrant?
This is the original. Right there's the watermark.
Watermark.
What I'm here for, yes, I brought this along. What I am here
You know
for,
that's not a warrant, right?
No, it is.
Well, where's the affidavit?
What the information that goes along?
Well, what is the probable cause?
Yeah, the information that goes along with it. Exactly. See, there's supposed to be information that goes along with it. You just found yourself guilty by cognizing it yourself, that you know that there's other documentation that's supposed to go along with it. Where is it?
Cause, yeah. No warrant shall issue. No warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause.
Right. The arrest has already been made.
The arrest has already been made. Understand this. He's saying the arrest has already been made. And now they've issued a warrant. For what? If you've already arrested, then what is the warrant? See how contradictory this stuff is? He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Cops fudging up words.
Is that what you mean by when you talk about the battle of the forms? It's like this man's brought the form, and it's like when he's saying that he believes there's other, like the affidavit that should be with it. This is a battle of the forms right here.
Yep, it's competitive. It's competitive contracting, and if you see an error in the contract, this is why you work on their weakness. You see their weakness. Remember, we did a thing on Phil Ivey the other night where he went into these baccarat tournaments with two different casinos, and he told them that he wanted a specific type of deck, and he wanted to use that same deck throughout the tournament. And in so doing, throughout those two casinos and throughout those two tournaments or whatever, he ended up pulling in $20 million. And then the casinos came back and tried to say that he was committing theft against him, that he stole it because he was doing what's called edge sorting. And they failed to recognize that he contracted it in with those tournaments. They accepted his terms and allowed the use of the kind of deck that he wanted to use, and various other terms that allowed him to use their weakness at an advantage. That's all he did.
Their weakness was only then the lack of knowledge, right? Because hindsight's 20/20.
No, he gave them knowledge. Their weakness was in not realizing that by doing so, he was taking advantage of one of their weaknesses.
And they made their weakness a crime, right? Because that's what you're saying. They tried to get him for
They tried to, and he was found not guilty, of course, because it was in the contract. The contract is the rule of law. He did not violate the contract. You're accusing him of cheating. That would have to follow the specific lines that he was edge sorting and it wasn't allowed. It was written into the contract. You allowed it. Now you're trying to say he was doing it. Fine. That's not cheating. He took advantage of a weakness. You merely have to admit the weakness, and the next time somebody comes along and wants to make those kind of contract terms and conditions, you say, no, we can't do that. We have to change decks every game. And we use these kind of decks. See, they didn't do that. So the next one I got, more bad police behavior. And pay attention. They know what the cameras do. They know the evidence that we're collecting against them through the First Amendment audits, as well as many other things, incidents of just plain old happenstance videos catching things, various things like that. And I urge people to use their phones in such a manner even more. So pay attention. Bad policing. They know what they're doing. They're trying to make unlawful demands and commands and orders.
What's the phone? Yes, put it down. I'd rather not. I'll have it recorded. Mr. Gray. Yes, sir. Can you please put it down? I'm not touching it. I got it right there. Yes, I know. And I know what that phone does. Please.
And I know what that phone does. It's going to catch me violating you and your rights. And I can't have that. So please turn it off. How fucking idiotic are you people? This makes the best sense in the world. They can't make you turn it off. Charge that fucking battery up and use it.
Please put it down so it's not recording me, please.
I know what it does too. It shows America who the tyrants are. It exposes bad cops who go running behind unions and qualified immunity, which needs to be torn down, by the way. God bless the homeless vets and the auditors. They started a revolution for change.
Can you put that down for me, please?
Absolutely, I give them kudos, and it is having some effect. But again, I see things that can be done to improve, and again, that's relative to the education of what's really happening. Okay. What was this one? Oh, yeah. This one here, this is another First Amendment auditor doing her part in keeping track of Big Brother by using that phone and watching them and trying to prevent them from violating other people's rights. Pay attention to what happens. This is the lengths they'll go to because they know what this camera does.
Him to sit directly on the ground. Then this lady started filming, which is her First Amendment right. But watch what this all turns into. When the cops notice her.
I got you. That's how they are, but don't worry, I'm going to record. They're bullies. Oh, God, bullies, shut up. He's scared. People are scared with grown men with guns who kill, okay? You do it all the time, so don't act like, why is he in fear? I got you, bro. Now everything's going to be okay because I'm here. I'm recording the whole thing. Why did they pull you over, sir? And he just came up behind you. Okay, what's your name and badge number, officer? What's your name and badge number? He didn't do nothing. I'm standing right here. I'm protecting him. I'm protecting him. I'm protecting him. Get out of my way. Don't block my view. Just stand right there.
Stand right there.
See how he keeps pushing her back farther and farther? And then they call it obstruction. No, she was filming from a distance, which is clearly allowable in plain public view, plain view doctrine. And because you know what that camera does and what she's spouting and calling attention to, you're violating her freedom of expression too.
Right. It's like the great projection because that dude's actually the one obstructing.
Absolutely. These are the people that you expect to protect you, and they're not. Men, we've failed.
Get by the blue car! I don't have to!
Yeah, you do! Yes, you do! Stay right there! Stand at the line. All right, let's go.
For what? You better have a
These cops pulled aside.
See, they kept pushing her back, kept pushing her back. No. In order for you to do that, you have to put your caution tape up. And then you can put it however far you want. Make sure it's deemed necessary according and appropriately to the crime scene, of course. Because if you just got some sucker on the ground with a bicycle and you have no reason except some kind of insane suspicion that he's done absolutely nothing, and you're trying to find something, see what I'm saying, folks? The insanity and the masculine toxicity has to stop. And I'll point out, this lady over here is a female cop. Again, you don't belong in these situations, ladies. Oh, here we go. Talking about corruption. We have serious complaints filed against dozens of Massachusetts police instructors' investigation finds. This is just 9 days ago, so a week and a half ago. And this is what I'm talking about with this corruption and the insanity. It's systemic, folks. These are the people you have in office. These are the people you have as public servants. These are the people you've had for a long time. And I'm telling you, we are slowly becoming Hitler's willing executioners. Ma'am, we're just doing our job. We don't know the law. We're just doing our job. Please settle down, ma'am. I'm going to have to shoot you if you don't.
Massachusetts, a months-long WBZ investigation has uncovered some pretty serious complaints against dozens of instructors at the state's police academies. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Courtney Cole. And I'm Lisa Hughes.
See, these are instructors. When these gentlemen enter these forces, these are the people teaching them.
WBZ's Louisa Moeller shows us how the state committee in charge has changed its code of conduct since she started asking questions.
There is no such thing as a routine traffic stop.
This is a video shown to police officers in training this year by the Municipal Police Training Committee, or MPTC.
No such thing as a routine traffic stop. Yet you hear all the time, you know why I pulled you over, ma'am? Well, I don't have no idea. Well, it's just a routine traffic stop. I saw that your plate light wasn't working, so I want to check and make sure everything's okay. You know, it's a community concern. We don't want you getting in an accident, right? Right. Come on, feed me some more bullshit.
Passenger side approach, the advantages include element of surprise.
And the officer doing the demo, he's not legally allowed to be a police officer in Massachusetts. That's former Hudson police officer Kevin Johnson. This video taken of him before his certification to be an officer was suspended by the state last year. MPTC still showing it to police recruits even after he was convicted of a misdemeanor crime. Court documents state Johnson was arrested for assaulting and kicking a man in the head and pushing his girlfriend. MPTC and its instructors are in charge of training every new police officer at academies like this one across the state, with training for current officers online. So we wanted to know.
So now we're not talking just dozens of officers, but thousands.
Who else is teaching the police officers of tomorrow? WBZ obtained a list of MPTC's roughly 2,500 instructors. Salem State University
comment.
Captain Stephen Turcotte is on there. Turcotte was the subject.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my comment is they're even saying it right there. It's like you come up on the passenger side, you get the element of surprise. Then these people or these officers will be like, hey, man, you seem kind of jumpy tonight. Why are you so jumpy? Why do you seem... And it's like they purposely do it. They purposely put you on edge just like that. Why would you want to surprise somebody?
Yeah, that's their tactics. Everything's a military tactic to gain an advantage. They're working on your weakness. Your weakness is you don't know this stuff. When you learn this stuff, you can see it in play and you can respond accordingly.
Subject of a 2012 WBZ I-Team investigation. Salem State settled a lawsuit against him, accusing him of sexual harassment and gender discrimination. In total, WBZ found 46 MPTC instructors with serious sustained complaints against them. 3 who had their MPTC instructor certifications suspended since we started investigating. 1 had their instructor certification reinstated after an appeal.
1 had it reinstated after an appeal. So the appeal was the appeal to the administrative procedure.
After an appeal.
Was to the administrative procedure. And otherwise, that means there was only 2 that had certification suspended. So what happens with the other 46? Did they continue on educating? Absolutely, because their certifications weren't suspended. And if so, were they educated or re-educated or continuous education to ensure that it doesn't continuously happen again and again and again? That seems like a large number to allow to remain, knowing that it's systemic, ingrained.
Among them, we found officers accused of falsifying timesheets, others involved in alleged domestic violence. Was arrested, then arrested again for violating a order against the same victim, off-duty assault and battery, another accused of illegal drug use, an officer accused of consuming alcohol before their shift, yet another allegedly used a police information system to conduct searches on 7 people unrelated to his police work. All
sounds like everyday people to me, normal criminals, yet they're placated as protectors, heroes, in law enforcement.
All 46 in violation of the NPTC's Code of Conduct.
It starts with a small transgression, and that becomes something that's accepted. Then it leads to another one, and that becomes accepted.
Larry Smith is a former Massachusetts State Police sergeant who runs a firm that investigates law enforcement. He argues NPTC's issues stem from its leadership, under the helm of Executive Director Robert Ferrulo, who retired this week. In April.
Oh, imagine that. So now who do you have at the top? Do you promote somebody within the ranks, or do you bring somebody in that has some kind of discretion and ethic morals from somewhere else? We have to fix this stuff, and we have to do it internally. As long as we continue to allow this to happen in that government, and again, I'm not an anarchist. I don't believe in not having government. I do recognize the government. I do recognize the need for government. I just don't happen to be one that needs them. So in that, I still have to understand how that government is structured to make sure that it's working both for the people that it does govern by their consent and is not working against me somehow.
WBZ revealed a Stoneham police officer who resigned from his job for allegedly saying the N-word was an NPTC instructor. The committee subsequently decertified him. Last summer, WBZ's I-team learned a cheating investigation was underway at 2 NPTC academies, and 4 student officers were disciplined at the time.
The executive director that is in charge, he was in charge for all of these.
NPTC told us in a statement, the Municipal Police Training Committee remains deeply committed to ensuring that our staff and nearly 2,500 instructors uphold the highest standards of integrity, competence, and professionalism.
Policing themselves. We must do better. We must police the police. We, the people, particularly the men, have a great responsibility in that if we don't know the government and how it's supposed to operate and work, how can we throw off that despotic government and replace it with another one that does work? A serious issue.
The committee says it started a notification process for the state's police oversight commission called POST will alert them if an officer is suspended or decertified. And it's now requiring instructors to self-report complaints against them.
Self-police and self-report. Wonderful concept. This is why I question the 44 that did remain.
Here's the governor.
Do you think there needs to be a deeper probe into the people who are training the police of tomorrow in the state?
I'm committed to, as a former attorney general and now as governor, making sure that we have the right personnel and people in place when it comes to all public safety matters.
Louisa Moeller, WBZ News.
As it is when it comes to all public safety matters.
What did that even mean?
Well, it means they're looking out for public safety and not yours, first and foremost. And when you're in public, you have to provide your own protection. Otherwise, you're presumed to be in public and not private. I'm going to take a hit. What do you guys got?
I don't know. For some reason, it came to my mind when you said that FTP thing that I see a lot of.
Yeah, fuck the police. the concept here isn't necessarily fuck the police, like fuck the government. It's more of making sure you have the knowledge and wisdom to be able to discern what the problem is so you can bring a solution. Nobody's doing this. No one is doing this. They're getting caught up in their emotions because they have some kind of authority, thinking that authority gives them authority over another living soul. No, you don't understand the concept of knowledge and wisdom for you to be able to make that discernment. So if you don't know the law, how can you uphold the law? If you took an oath to the Constitution and pose that you're upholding the law while violating people's constitutional rights, it tells me you know neither the law nor the Constitution.
I know. I thought that the other day when I went into a public building and there was a police officer there that trying to get me to follow employment policy, claiming it overruled the law. And it's like, I want to tell him, I may get the chance to tell him that, he needs to write his oath of the Constitution like 3 times in his own handwriting and then write like 1,000 sentences afterwards. I will uphold my oath. So I'm not jacking with the man or whoever that's just going about their daily activities of peacefulness and, doing business or just traveling.
Yeah, and that's the problem. People don't.
Cuck educates.
People can't even tell the difference between traveling for their pleasure and conducting business affairs, things like that. And again, it all goes down to the language, your comprehension, and being sure that you know what you're talking about. Otherwise, you sit there and repeat everybody else's lies. And we have a society again today, like I said, that is willing to tell those little white lies and just excuse them off as though, well, that's what I believe. Well, you can't believe certain things, and we know this objectively. But yet people will do it. I'm transgender. I'm a woman. I can have a period. I can menstruate. And this is a ridiculous concept, and yet people are willing to let that go on and not correct them and let them become full-grown people, adults in government. Who is the director of the Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen? Have you seen that woman? It's not a woman.
Nor was
It's all
Michelle
for
Obama.
profit, Keith. It's all for profit, man. Everything's for profit nowadays.
Program of economic warfare, equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It includes the insane ones in the war. That makes for a better entertainment theater. Put on your clown suits. Let's go.
Pay for these pills. Pay for these operations. Pay for these books. Yep. These YouTube. It's all bullshit.
Let's see. The
but
next
it's
one.
It's actually like in some way to just within your mind to pay for travel. It's like, because if you're walking and like someone then claims that they have some right to like impede your travel, that your travel even goes to putting one foot in front of the other and going from point A to point B, no matter what it is, just your personal expression of placing one foot in front of the other, that they have a right to impede that and claim, we can disturb your peace. We can impede your right to travel. We can actually transgress the law against you, and you're supposed to go bow down to it or whatever.
Yeah, you're supposed to acquiesce first and let the courts decide. No, I believe you should decide first so you can avoid those instances with knowledge. So yeah, I agree. It's stupid the way they perpetrate it.
Is it true that a woman judge can't judge a man in court? If that's true, then how could they make legal determinations over a man on the road, a woman cop?
Absolutely. That's why I say, according to ecclesiastical jurisdictions, women ain't even supposed to be in court. That's the part about set thine house in order. See, we're not supposed to be accusing women of crimes either. That's one of the best reasons to keep them out. Because I believe it was somebody like Hillary Clinton that said if they ever find out what we did, they'll hang us in the streets. So let's take a look at another one. Charlie Kirk, again, one of my favorites. Gonna top off another woke student.
A white liberal arguing for black-only dormitories.
Would you say that black-only dormitories is wrong?
It certainly creates a sense of community. I don't see any problem with that.
I don't see any problem with that, so he's for it. Pay attention. He's for it.
Sororities, we have male-only dorms.
Right. So racial differences are irrelevant and immaterial. Chromosomal differences actually do matter. But let me ask you a question. Are there differences between races?
No, not biologically.
Then why would we have different dormitories for races?
Culture.
Segregation is what you're arguing for, my friend.
No, sir. You've just pigeonholed me, essentially.
No. You did that to yourself.
No, yeah, you did that to yourself. You said you were for segregation. Now watch.
Let's reemphasize. So Ibram X. Kendi argues, who is one of the leading thinkers of critical theory, race theory, discrimination today to atone for discrimination of yesterday. We have black-only graduation ceremonies at Columbia University, black-only dormitories across the country, for example, at Western Washington University. Can you join me today in saying black-only dormitories are evil, wrong, and it's segregation?
I'm arguing against segregation.
So you're against black.
You don't see anything wrong with it.
This kid's smart enough to just cool off, but he keeps kind of baiting into it.
Well, I don't know that he's smart enough. I think he's confused for sure. I'm sure he may have a lot of information, but somewhere along the line, there's some confusion. At the beginning, he was all for the segregation, and now he's saying he's against it. No, you got me wrong. Then learn how to speak.
Black-only dormitories.
Yes.
Charlie Kirk educates a white liberal arguing for black-only dormitories.
Would you say that black-only dormitories is wrong?
One more time.
It creates a sense of community. I don't see any problem with that. We have sororities. We have male-only dorms.
Right. So racial differences are irrelevant and immaterial. Chromosomal differences actually do matter. But let me ask you a question. Are there differences between races?
No, not biologically.
Then why would we have different dormitories for races?
Culture.
Segregation is what you're arguing for, my friend.
No, sir.
Exactly.
But he has, you could tell he's a sharp dude, and he could have just been right there. He could have thought on that instead of reacting to it that quick.
Well, and I think part of the problem here is now once you mention culture and race, it's the same thing. You're talking about maybe cultural appropriation. That's going to be your next topic here. If you wanted to push it, I'm pretty sure that would be the next topic, cultural appropriation. You know, you would definitely see the different cultures, and there wouldn't be so much culture. No, you see it. I don't believe, just like in racism, I don't believe in cultural appropriation either. It's just habits that people tend to pick up because they suit them.
Keith, I have a question. I want to ask you, logically, do you think these people cannot hear the Holy Spirit? Do you think that they can't hear that when they talk and that their own words go into their ears, that they are not listening?
Absolutely. Watch this next one. This is outrageous.
Welcome to San Francisco.
This is the one in San Francisco, gay parade, pride parade, whatever you want to call it. This is the totality of insanity and how we're allowing it to happen and how it's creeping in, not just to the feminist and racist issues and stuff like that, but the children.
Cisco.
One question for you guys. I'm a news reporter.
Okay.
So obviously there's a lot of nudity around here, men, women, transsexual stuff going on. And there's kids, wandering around the event. I'm not sure on San Francisco's laws or California's laws. Is it legal for nudity to be presented in front of kids?
Nudity is legal, yeah, within certain boundaries.
Nudity is legal within certain boundaries in San Francisco. And this is what we started off with the first one, the first video with pediatricians and the two genders. And children that were young and adolescent children that were uncomfortable in their sexuality. How does that come about? Because somebody is presenting that sexual aspect to them, and it seems to be confusing them. And this is evident. This is patent and observable that this is how it happens.
Hey, Keith, what is the unforgivable sin? Is it? Yeah.
Unforgivable sin.
Is an
Oh,
unforgivable sin even
blas-
real? Is that even
blas-
real?
blasphemy against God, and that's what they accuse Jesus of claiming to be God. And that would be a crime of the flesh. And to me, that would be more in modern times, again, that psychological aspect, that it would obviously be a mental or insanity condition rather than blasphemy. I don't know if there's really such a blasphemy thing, unless it would be somebody that could come forth professing to be God and show actual miracles such as God would do. Then you would have to prove that those miracles were wrong, that they were fake or something. That's a big test. Otherwise, I think it's reasonable and logical just to go ahead and assume, presume, or otherwise that they're just insane.
So do you think that these people are trying to, in some way, flirt with that to see if they can actually accomplish it? And just what this video was about right here and what she's saying and not even hearing her own words if she had a child?
No, I don't think there's a possibility. Either the extinction of Satan or God in the scriptures is pretty much an impossibility. What is done is what ought to be done. There is nothing new under the sun. And that might be a way-based format of simplifying it. It may be too simple, but that's the way I see it. There are certain balances in life, and when it comes to this kind of stuff, it will balance out, and it may not look pretty. But understand, this doesn't look pretty either. Yet some people are accepting it. I think it's gross. I think it's despicable.
And what are the boundaries? Do you know?
Coupled with a lewd act. Yeah, anything coupled with a lewd act or anything being done for sexual gratification that involves other people. Basically.
Okay, but this event wouldn't be considered for sexual gratification.
No, if they're walking around and it's out, that's right. That'd be different than if they're masturbating.
Yeah, if they're walking around and it's out, that would be different than if they were masturbating. So it's perfectly legal to walk around in San Francisco naked.
In certain boundaries, right?
Right, but don't adjust your junk.
Yeah, you can't.
Or you're playing with it.
Yeah, you can't go out in public and start playing with it, or go out in public with another person and have sex out in public. But you can certainly walk up and down the street naked.
Well, I do horrible out there because I walk around with the boners all the time. So
Absolutely.
that'd be a struggle for me.
Well, it'd be like solicitation. They might get you hooked up on that.
Or if they're forcing, like flashing people, right? Like trying to get their attention.
Flashing people, trying to get. Oh, wait a minute. You mean you got to call specific attention to it by flashing it? You mean like letting it hang out in the open? I mean, that's what they call flashers in the day, right? Letting it hang out. Oh, somebody streaked across. They flashed the whole audience.
But even with kids, it's fine to be nude as long as there's no masturbation or anything like that. Okay.
And this is what we end up with. God help us. God help us.
California cops stand idly by as men expose themselves, pee on each other at event open to kids. If that's what you want your women and children to be exposed to, then you go ahead and just keep being that beta cuck corporate male, letting the rest of society fuck you, and then crying because you can't find a good woman. because they can't find a good man either. What do you guys got to say on the way out?
No, that'd be
I
good.
just have
That'd actually be like a good YouTube channel. Would be going after people doing this shit. Like a channel strictly in San Francisco, going after like the nut shit and exposing it.
Yeah, it's insane. But people already know what happens. So why isn't it being shut down? We can expose it all we want. We can expose it tomorrow. We can expose it the next day, just like we did a year ago.
Yeah, we're just used to it.
Absolutely, we've become comfortably numb, and that's what they do.
Why?
They numb you to it. This is how they're numbing the children to it, and it's not numbing the children. It's changing them. They believe they can change their gender, so they do the hormone blockers and stuff. Insanity.
It's predatory.
So why do you believe they're doing it? Why is it taking place?
What he just said is predatory. It's a corporate world that loves the experiments and will allow you to fantasize anything you want and let them help you become what you want.
For the goal of just becoming what you want?
Absolutely.
So, basically, they're allowing this to happen because the elites can profit off all this, right?
If they can give you a dream as a little boy that the greatest thing in the world would be to change the world by being the first little boy that grew up to be a girl. That's all they got to do is tweak that little mind. And that's what's happening. People are tweaking the little minds, and they're coming up with these insane imaginations. And then the adults are saying, great, let's help.
But what's the end goal? I mean, this all
I
is
don't
like
know. I don't know.
The goals are profit, pedophilia, like all types of nefarious, terrible shit.
That's the only thing I can see why anybody would do something like that. In your natural world, you wouldn't see people, men particularly, allowing others to take authority over their women and children. That's their priority.
Do you think it's to prove that Sodom and Gomorrah was like not true?
I don't know. I can't take it as proof. I wasn't there. I can take it as evidence today that insane shit still happens, and that's why. It should be simple. You shouldn't do that. So anyway, what do you guys got on the way out? I gotta eat.
Yeah, take care, man.
Good one.
Yeah, peace. That's what I have to say. Peace be with you.
Absolutely. And remember, guys, you got to learn how to start standing up and start putting your foot down and say no. You got to know your ways and means and start riding that bike of education so you can learn. You have to empower yourself if you feel weak and victimized by anybody, even if you want to claim it's the government. You're victimizing yourself by not knowing. And you guys know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you disrespect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. We'll see you next time.